Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. That other badass jet pilot is my friend, my wingman, the guy who watches my six, Dr. Paul Thompson. How are you, brother Paul?
Good morning, Commander Drew. It's good to see you. We're going to have a good show today. I like your background. Hope you like mine. I have a little story behind it.
Yeah, I see those Thunderbirds behind you. Yes, I do like it very, very much. You know, we start off our show with a good quote. Let's do this one. Caring for yourself sends a signal to your brain that you matter. Once again, caring for yourself sends a signal to your brain that you matter. And that's by Allison Raskin. And that is so important that we look after ourselves. It's so important that we become our own best friends. But our brain needs to tell us that we're important. Don't you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think so. And like I say, a group of people that really need to hear that, maybe more so, are those who are actually caring for others, who might inadvertently forget about caring for themselves and put themselves in a bad position. Well, most people think about themselves, but there are other people who you can go overboard and just forget about yourself and say, no, yeah, you matter. You matter.
Didn't you say something about the caretaker?
Yeah, that's a phrase I made up myself. Who takes care of the caregiver when the caregiver is the one that really needs the most care?
Very good phrase.
Question.
We're going to quote that one day. All right, Dr. Paul, let's start off with some good news. Dr. Paul, do you remember the Jetsons?
I do remember the Jetsons.
They were my favorite. That was one of my favorite cartoons, them and the Flintstones. We did future and past. What if I told you that air taxis are actually coming? Those Jetson cars that would fly around the sky all over are actually coming. They actually have air taxis that are about to be produced in the next 2 to 3 years. And the FAA finally just made a rule about it. And this vertical takeoff and landing electric drones is what they're called. These drones are actually have an FAA rule, and it's the first time they've done a new aircraft in 80 years, Paul.
Yeah, this is interesting. Are they going to be manned or unmanned?
I think they're going to be unmanned, actually, because I was thinking about this. I don't think they're going to let you drive it and tell it where to go. I think it comes and picks you up and takes you to a destination all pre-programmed so they can watch out for other air taxis in the air.
Yeah, that makes sense because you'd have to be kind of a licensed air taxi pilot like anything else. That's that complicated. Wow, that I can see that. I know there's companies in the U.S. and one in China that's working on it. And I think they're going to deploy them in Dubai at first. It's wow. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, but you know, with my new Cybertruck that's autonomous, and now I let it drive me everywhere. All I do is put in an address and watch it go.
Not interrupt you, but you may get an upgrade. You might be able to get that Cybertruck to actually fly one day.
That's right. I'm sure they can put a software package in it and it'll change to a flying Cybertruck. But for real, this technology is just incredible. And so I believe that taxi is closer than we think. You can just walk out your door, get into a drone, and be at the airport in about 15, 20 minutes, depending on where you live.
I think you're right.
All right. How about this one? You know, you and I really take care of ourselves. We take vitamins, any medicine we have to take, we take, but I take a hell of a lot of vitamins. I do. Well, they have just made an AI poly pill. Check this out, a 3D poly pill that can take all of your medications, all of your vitamins, and put them into one pill. And even if you have to take one in the morning, one at night, it will distribute them in the proper hours and the proper times so you can get your medications and vitamins all in one pill. What about that? Because that would really help.
Yeah, I read about that. It's enabled by 3D printing. And they basically they like print in layers, and everything you need to do is in a layer, and they can put one layer and put the architecture such that the medicine will be delivered at a certain time because it will have to follow a certain path. So everything you can have multiple paths. So I guess you can get some of your medicine like right now, and then the next group maybe 6 hours later, or maybe the next one a day later. But it's all through the architecture of the pill itself.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. 30% of all medication errors are because people don't take their medications correctly. And this would put an end to all that.
Yes. Well, yeah, because it's going to be customized to the for the person.
Yes, right to the person. I bet you get it right at the pharmacy. You tell them what your medications are. You give them 10 minutes and they give you the pill.
Yeah.
All right. How about this one, Dr. Paul? I didn't know this, but mothers and infants are at a higher death rate here in this country than most other high income countries. We are one of the lowest in baby death and mother's deaths. Well, the state of Oregon has a fix for that. Believe it or not, they now send a nurse home with the baby up to 3 times in a month. When you first come home with any baby, they can get free nurse care visiting 3 times during the month. What about that?
Yeah, I read where that program has reduced, I guess, incidence of postpartum depression by like 30%. I guess it's a nurse that drives, in the state somewhere, and they can ask that it's free for new mothers and fathers. And you can ask the nurse any questions. They can help you out with different things. Because when you have a child, particularly the first time, everything is new. Everything is brand new. If you have no help, if you have no one around you that knows anything, it can be quite a challenge. It'd be really good to have someone to give you initial guidance and a follow up to see how things are going at the very beginning. Because the beginning of life is so important.
Yeah. And, the truth is, babies are hard. Having an infant is extremely hard. You have a life that is so tender, and you really have to know how to take care of it. But like you said, if a nurse comes over and you can ask them any questions that you want, and these nurses also can send you to government agencies. They can set up like even a hearing aid appointment for the grandparents who have to take care of children. These nurses can actually do a lot for the mother and the families that take care of these babies.
All right. And this is free of charge.
Yes, it's free of charge. And then the name of the company is called Family Connect in Oregon. Family Connect actually provides this service, which I think is excellent. How about this question, Dr. Paul? You, I believe, are the age that you were in the draft. I missed the draft by 1 year.
Yeah.
What if I told you we should maybe bring back the draft and have all of our people of America actually give 2 years of service? What do you think about that idea?
I think it's interesting. It's come up now and then. Yeah, I did have a draft number. I remember my number was 169. And I think young men still everybody has to register for selective service at age 18. They just don't have a draft now. But there are other countries that are talking about that too, mainly because of, I guess, the isolation and the almost the listlessness of a number of young men who are lost. I think a national service would be a good idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the military. It could be for 2 years. It could be 1 year. I think the just the discipline of doing something would help. I would say probably 1 year, because that's not gonna kill you. You can do a lot of things, and maybe pick up some valuable skills. It could be like national service, working in an underprivileged area, poor area where people need help. Doesn't have to
Yeah,
be military.
yeah, you can do the forest agencies, you can do hospitals. I don't think it should be just military. What I do want is all these young people to go to boot camp. It's what I really want. I think, well, boot camp changed my life. joining the Navy changed my life. It showed me discipline. Put me on a road to success, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of people need that discipline, especially when you're 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. So and in Israel, everybody has to go into the military, everybody. And there
Right.
actually was an exemption for Orthodox Jews who didn't believe in going in the military. They're about to change that too. But I think a national service would be excellent for America. And then you get that American pride in you. When you put something back in your country, you get a little bit more pride, don't you think?
I think so. Yeah, because you essentially you have skin in the game. You're not just an observer. You're a participant, and you're a material participant. You have a lot going on, and just the camaraderie, meeting different people, doing different things. That was one thing that the draft military did. It put in a lot of disparate groups together that wouldn't normally be together. Sometimes there were bad things that came from that. That's reality too. But overall, I think the society gained a lot, as opposed to everyone being so isolated now. With our devices, we can be more isolated than ever. So I think it's good to develop some kind of teamwork beyond sports.
Yes, well, I do believe that a national service is very needed in this country, and I think young people would benefit from it. And like you said, 1, 2, 3 years, whatever it is, but it can put you on a straight and narrow path. Back in the day, criminals, they would do something not that bad, but small little crimes, and the judge would say either the army or jail. And believe it or not, the army straightened up a whole lot of people. But I think our young people could use that.
Yeah.
The name of our show this week is How to Change Your Life Overnight. How about making your bed in the morning? There are two kind of people in this world. I do say there are two kind of pilots, ones that fly up the ships and ones that wish they could. Well, there are two kind of people in this world, ones that make their beds and ones that don't make their beds. What do you think about making your bed, Paul?
Yeah, that reminds me of that book we were talking about. I read some time ago. It was a great book by an Admiral William McRaven. It's called "Make Your Bed: Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World." And he was I guess head of SOCOM and SEAL team commander, and basically talks about everything starting from the very beginning. Make your bed, and apparently it helped him with his discipline, his personal discipline, and his success and everything that came from it. Just little things. Nice little book. Make your bed, little things that can change your life and maybe the world. You can read it in a day.
Yeah, you told me about that book. We've
Yeah.
actually talked about that book on the show. But making your bed, think about it. In the military, that's the very first thing you have to do. And they used to say you had to make your bed where you drop a quarter on it and would bounce. Well, the quarters are so cheap and so light now, I don't think they would bounce.
I think
But
you're right.
making your bed actually gives you a lot of benefits. Let me give you some. A feeling of accomplishment because you're just starting off the day doing something, a sense of calm, better sleep, enhanced organization, improved focus, relaxation, and stress reduction. And we'll talk about stress here in a minute. But making your bed is very important. And when I go to sleep at night, when I see a made bed, it just makes me feel better. But I am very, very strict about making my bed every morning. Katrina and I wake her up and I say, let's make the bed together.
Yeah, I mean it's also an expression of personal discipline, that you can do yourself and gives you a feeling of accomplishment instead of looking at a mess. I don't like messes.
No, I don't like a mess either. And it starts your day off by doing something constructive. Well, we were talking about stress. Well, I'm sure you've had contractors in your house, but contractors give me stress because every time you want something done, they give you one word, you tell them another, and usually it doesn't work out, especially the timing. Well, I'm having contractors over at the house right now. They're helping putting a garage in for me. And I started to have stress because they said they were coming last week, but they didn't come. So they started coming this week. Well, my stress is not that bad. I don't know if it's from making my bed or maybe it's that magic mind that we take because magic mind is supposed to stop stress and they're a sponsor of ours. And just before I go any further, if anybody'd like to try that Magic Mind that Dr. Paul and I take, all you have to do is go to magicmind.co. That's magicmind.co. And if you get a subscription, Magic Mind will give you 40% off the subscribe rate. And if you just want to try it for a couple of weeks, go ahead and put in the code Wingman20, Wingman20, and they'll give you 20% off. But I think that that's great. Don't you, Paul?
Yeah, that's it helps with stress. My personal experience with contracts has been pretty good with one big exception. That was years ago. I could have used some Magic Mind then. Uh, yeah, if you're don't be too hard on your contractors if they're doing something really tough. Sometimes things that their estimates and scheduling and cost sometimes are off. Sometimes they're way off. But that's part of the deal too.
I always wanted to do this. Next time I had a project, I wanted to say, give me the date that you say you're going to be finished. And every day after that date, it costs you $100 off of your contracted price. And nobody ever says yes to that. But that's what I thought we could.
Or then you could also offer them $100 extra a day if they do early.
That's true. Well,
Fun.
everybody, check out those badass jets we got behind us. I'm inside the cockpit looking out over some Blue Angels. Dr. Paul is looking at Thunderbirds, and Dr. Paul went to an air show this week. Come on, tell me about that air show, Paul.
Yeah, it was not too far from you. Did you hear any loud noise on Saturday or Sunday?
No, but Friday I went to Costco near Peachtree City, and they were smoking. I loved it. That's the sound of freedom. I love watching those jets fly by. So I saw it when they did their practice.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was a great air show. It was I guess a display of military might. The weather was perfect. Have you heard of the F-35?
Yes, you told me about the F-35. Did they actually show that? Did they show a demonstration of it?
Yeah, they did. They had their demo pilot. They had one demo pilot, put the F-35 through its paces. Very impressive display. Kind of stole the show, but I enjoyed it. Your U.S. Navy was there. They had a Rhino demonstration team. It was the F-18 Super Hornet. They called the Rhino. It was painted up real nice. Did a very nice demonstration. I was impressed with that. And then the highlight was the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. They closed the show out. Did a very good job. It's similar to the Blue Angels. The show was a little bit different. I enjoyed it. They seem to be like a little bit lower this year than years
Well,
past.
you told me this was the best air show you've ever seen, and that's pretty incredible. The best air show I ever seen was out at sea when they did an air show on the Nimitz, and that's when they could break the sound barrier, and they did so much stuff. But this air show you said was just exceptional.
It was exceptional. There was also an F-16 demonstration team. They were there too. It was like one after the other, all big acts, nothing small, no filler. It was one. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for that? And one after one after the other. You ever hear of the Commemorative Air Force?
Yes, I have heard of them.
Okay. Well, anyway, they were there. They were actually based at this. They have a unit based at this airport, and they participated in it. They had P-51 and an F-4U Corsair, which was the you might have seen that in the movie in the TV show Baba Black Sheep. It flew in the Pacific World War II, and it was a part of the show. And they did a heritage flight at the end with the Navy painted F-4U Corsair flew alongside of the Navy F-18, the old and the new. That was nice to see. It was just an enjoyable air show. It actually ended earlier than normal. It just major stuff. Even had a KC-135 come over with the boom extended, just rocking his wings at a fairly low altitude. I think they came from Eglin Air Force Base or somewhere. So a lot of assets are out there, and it showed part of the U.S. military might.
Well, if anybody wants to see what Dr. Paul and I did, go to an air show and watch those badass jets, because I'll tell you what, you won't ever see anything like that unless you are up close and can watch a military jet. And that's what Dr. Paul and I did. And the trip is whenever I see him fly over, I always look up and say, did I look that cool? Did I really look that cool? And I
Yeah.
think I did. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching our show, for listening to our show on YouTube, on Apple Podcast, on Instagram, on TikTok. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your letters. We truly appreciate all of your support. We have a website also that's called wingmanshow.com. Wingmanshow.com. And on that website, we also have a newsletter. And this week's newsletter is going to be how to make your bed perfectly every morning, which I think is going to be a great newsletter. But how to make your bed perfect every morning. But we also have something on that website called the Frequent Flow Line. And that's where you guys get to ask Dr. Paul and myself any question you want. And I have a letter from the Frequent Flow Line this week. It's from a 40-year-old man in Miami, Florida. And he writes, my mother is so frustrated with this new high-tech era. I heard one of your shows where you talked about it. Please talk about it again, and I'll have my mom watch or listen to it. She loves you guys and think you're so cool. Thanks. Dr. Paul, I'm going to let you start off with this because this is really important. This is a new age with this high tech. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Commander Drew. Yeah, to the gentleman, thank you for thinking we're cool. That's always good to hear. Yeah, in terms of what your mom is going through, I understand. I go through the same thing, to be honest with you. She just has to have a willingness to go beyond it. When Commander Drew and I started the podcast, there was all kinds of stuff. We had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do everything? Took hours and days and weeks. But we were wise enough to enlist the help of people who did know what they were doing. And they basically led us by the hand, step A, step B, step C, and after a while, after a long while, we got the hang of it and we got the flow, and it required us to do different things and learn new things. Sometimes that's really tough. She has to have a willingness to learn. Something that you can do is to help her out, because when you look at any of these, because I'm doing all kinds of stuff, and some of it's hard, some of it's not, but some of it's really difficult, and you've got to learn different habits. Start her with something simple that she can do. If she's overwhelmed, the one thing you can do, and I just did this the other day with my wife, is to teach her how to avoid phishing scams, little things where they're trying to get into your computer through an email, because they primarily target senior citizens with these things, because these emails look so good and they're fake. And you really have to look at the address, hover over it, and look at I'll be honest with you, I've been doing that. I did a cybersecurity thing just a couple of days ago. It took 20 minutes. And to hover over it to make sure you're not getting a fake email. It could be from the Social Security Administration. It could be all kinds of things where they've got you. The email address looks a little strange. And if you think it's weird, it probably is. So teach her how to look at her emails and avoid phishing scams. And from that, go to something different. She doesn't have to learn everything. But I think that's something that's very useful you could do right away.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And I'm going to go further. I'm going to say buy her an Apple product. And we're not sponsored by Apple, but I will tell you this. Apple products are easier to use, I have found. And what you need to do is sit down with her with this Apple product and start explaining emails and text, and realize that Apple and every other company that makes apps, they want you to use them, so they really make them very user friendly. The thing you have to get over is your confidence. You don't have confidence that you make a mistake and you don't know what to do. I remember I had to call Apple every day. How do you do this? How do you do that? Well, after a while, I didn't have to call so much. And I have to say this is not a choice anymore. This high-tech thing is not a choice anymore. It'd be very hard to live a comfortable life now if you don't have an iPhone or a smartphone, is what I should say. It would be like you moved out to another foreign country and you can't speak the language. You will be lost soon. You can't go to concerts. You're soon not going to be able to go to the bank. I mean, I haven't been to the bank in 7, 8 years. There is a new way out there. And the best thing you can do for your mom is walk her through it and show her that these skills are not that hard. Remember, third graders, fifth graders, they love doing all of it and they're very good at it. So that's my advice to you. Get into this high tech, whether you like it or not, because it will make your life so much better. Well, that brings me to Wingman PSA from the 11 Facts in Life. Under fact number 3, everything you do comes back to you. Everything you do comes back to you. You don't get away with anything, Dr. Paul, and that's through some time on planet living. I've been here a while and I realized you don't get away with anything. There are no sales. I always said that if they're selling something half price, that's all it was worth in the first place. So there are no sales, and whatever you do, it's going to come back to you. So if you treat people with respect, people will treat you with respect. What do you think about that circle theory that everything comes back to you, Paul?
Yeah, Commander Drew, I like that. Everything, there are no sales. That's all it was worth in the first place. I never thought of it like that before. I like that. I'm gonna use that if you don't mind. Things come back to you, especially bad. It can be good too. I think if you've been a good person, stay good. You'll get another blessing somewhere down the road, or maybe not, or maybe you get it, you never know it. Be a good person.
Well, I've broken down life to a very simple statement: do good, get good; do bad, get bad. And it's just about that easy. You can use anything I have, Dr. Paul, you can have. I promise you that. We're sponsored by Magic Mind, and Magic Mind does something that they're very proud of. They reduce stress. But I wanted to talk about cortisol because that is the stress chemical that is produced in your body by adrenal glands. And cortisol is very helpful if you're in trouble, but can be very dangerous if you're not in trouble. And you need to know this fact: stress is the number one killer in the country. And that's because of the overproduction of cortisol. And I just want to read this to you for a little bit, and I'll show you some pictures. If you have high cortisol levels, it can lead to fatigue, irritability, headaches, intestinal problems such as constipation, bloating, or diarrhea, anxiety or depression. It increased blood pressure, low libido. It can actually cause erectile dysfunction or problems with regular ovulation and menstrual periods. These are very serious problems that you can have, and it's because you produce your own stress. Cortisol is made for when we were in the jungles and a lion came at you. Cortisol would be produced from your adrenal glands. It would mix with adrenaline and you would get super strength. But when you're not in the jungle and you don't have to run from a lion because somebody said something to you, if your brain thinks fight or flight, that cortisol will still be produced, and it's extremely dangerous. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I can see that, because we can't fight all the time. Even the great Muhammad Ali, fought a certain time during a round, and the round was over, sat on the chair, got some water, some rest, and went back into it. You can't fight all the time, and the worst thing you can do is to fight anybody, but to fight yourself internally all the time. Yeah, don't do that. Take a breath. Literally take a breath. Take a lot of long, slow breaths and count slowly. Unwind yourself.
I was just going to talk about that actually, because if you have high cortisol, first of all, you should go to a doctor and have them check it because they don't check it regularly. But if you have some of those symptoms, it just probably, and it might be stress related. But there are, we don't just want to give you problems. We want to give you answers. And Paul started it off. How about some of these things to reduce your stress? Breathing exercises. Paul taught me one, and I do it all the time now. I breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it 7 seconds, and breathe out for 7 seconds. You can do breathing exercises. You should do regular exercise. That favorite word, move that body. Guided imagery, journaling, listening to music, meditation, self-hypnosis, sex, yoga, and Magic Mind. That's right. Magic Mind can help you with stress. And if you'd like to get Magic Mind, just go to magicmind.co. That's magicmind.co and put in the code Wingman20 for 20% off. If you get a full subscription, Magic Mind will give you up to 40% off. But I think that Magic Mind is one of the things you can use for stress. What about it, Paul?
Yes, you can. It does work. It does help. And then the 477. I typically do like 478. Who cares? But you're right. It does. I do it all the time. Into a count of 4, hold to a count of 7, and exhale into the nose for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, exhale through the lips slowly for a count of 7 or 8 or something like that. It does work. I just do it like a minute or two.
Yeah, it's a form of meditation. It's calming yourself. Remember, you're in your own head. You are in charge of your head. Take charge of it. That's mindfulness. You can do these things. You just got to get better and better at it. And the first time you do anything isn't easy, but you get better as you do more reps. Well, the name of our show is called The Wingman Show because we always like to highlight somebody who has helped somebody else. Well, I have a great wingman story for you this week. There was a couple called Bill and Becky, an older couple, and they retired 20 years ago. And for their retirement, they said they wanted to visit every state and visit the capital. Well, they did that, except for one state. They weren't able to go to Alaska. And Bill just got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So he was very, very sick. Well, they go to Chick-fil-A all the time in Houston. And some kind of way, the workers at this Chick-fil-A heard of their problem. Believe it or not, they called a Chick-fil-A in Juneau, Alaska. How about this? And they tried to work out something for Bill and Becky so they could have their dream of going to the state capitol. Well, the Chick-fil-A in Juneau, what they did is they took Bill and Becky's wedding picture. And remember, they've been together for 50 years. They took their wedding picture and made a lifestyle stand-up copy of it, and then they put it in the governor's mansion and took a picture. They took it to the state capitol and took a picture. They took it all over and made pictures. Then they made a scrapbook. They even signed Bill and Becky's name into the state capitol's registry of the state of Alaska. They made a nice little scrapbook. They put some gifts in it, and they sent it to him. So actually, the people at Chick-fil-A in Juneau gave Bill and Becky their dream of visiting kind of the state capital of Alaska. And I think that's good. Don't you, Paul?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a lot more than getting some chicken nuggets and fries.
That's right. Well, everybody out there, if you can hear my voice, whatever you think is beautiful and whatever you think is important, and most of all, whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Mr. Drew, and to all our listeners and viewers. We appreciate your support, liking what we put out. Give us a like if you're watching on YouTube. It helps the algorithm. We'd appreciate that. Pass this on to somebody that you know. It might help them.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.